Hi, this is Lisa, and I think this is going to be, if not my next to last video about walking on the Camino de Santiago. I've made a bunch of videos today as I was unpacking. As I was walking the Camino, I said, you know, when I get home, as I'm unpacking, I'm going to do a video about the trip in hopes of maybe giving some useful tips to other people. And I hope I've done that at least for some. I made a general video about our trip, and then I made a video about luggage and what I carried on the trip. I made a video about things that I took but didn't use, and things that I was super happy I did take. And I did a video about Camino specific things that I took that I don't normally take. And then a separate video about my first aid kits. I did a video about hydration reservoirs for making sure you're drinking enough water. I did a video about footwear and feet and blisters. And then I did a video about clothing. And I did a video about trekking poles. And earlier on up there I did a video about going to the bathroom and doing laundry on the Camino. So this last video is going to be about papers that I carried with me on the Camino. And I gleaned that it's important to take these papers from previous trips I've taken because I've traveled a lot internationally. And I also gleaned a lot of this stuff from other YouTube videos and books that I read and the people that organized this trip for us, which is a company called Hike the Way. I kept my papers in baggies so they wouldn't get wet, but I always had them with me. I kept them held together with this neat little, it's a trekking pole rope, but it works great for holding pretty much anything together. And I kept them in the front pocket of my backpack, and they were always with me. So the things that were always with me were my these papers, my medications, and a lot of the stuff in my fanny pack, which was my passport, my money, you know, my AirPods, things that were really important. I never let those go in my checked bag. So one of these baggies contains trip information. So from the company that did the trip for us, called Hike the Way, which is located in a city just north of Houston called The Woodlands. I guess that's a separate city. I had just the basic information outlining, you know, the main things, how to get in touch with them. I also had all this stuff scanned into my phone, but I figured if something happened and they couldn't open my phone because they couldn't get to my face, or I don't know. I just took it both digitally and on my phone, digitally and hard copy. Then I also had a copy of my packing lists. I normally pack from a list, but my regular non-Camino packing list is just one page. It's not even in here. So these are just my Camino packing lists, and I packed, like this list is, what should I carry in my fanny pack, in my backpack, and when I'm flying, which was different than what should I carry in my fanny pack and my backpack when I'm walking, which was this list. Separate list, this list. And then I just had so many little individual bags, like, you know, my Brighton bag that said love on it, my Brighton bag that said 2019 on it, my blue first aid kit, my red first aid kit, the burgundy squirrel bag, all the different little bags I had. I put what I had in there, so if I was wanting to find something quickly, I didn't have to go through every single bag. So that was actually very helpful to have. I need to be organized. And then I had details about the last part of our trip, which was to fly from Santiago to Madrid and the hotel in Madrid, because we did that ourselves. It wasn't done by Hike the Way. And then the company that partners with Hike the Way, called T-Travel, had sent us some information, and we got, some general information. We got maps, and we got route details. So just a lot of stuff about, the walking trip. And it came in a handy little case like this, and everything fit in there, although I ended up putting other stuff in there. So I ended up putting this in this baggie. So that was one baggie full of papers. And then, it's good to know where you're going. Now, some people, they don't, some people just set out walking, and when they get to where they want to stop, they find an albergue. But I'm not that kind of person. And then this other stuff I have because it was recommended by a lot of people. If something were to happen, I don't know if any of you watched the movie The Way before you went or decide to go or whatever, but I took my medical insurance cards, also scanned into my phone, and I took my, I wrote up how to make phone calls to and from Spain, and I wrote up a list of primary contacts in the United States to contact if something happened to me, my sister, my brother, and some friends, and a neighbor. And then I wrote up a list of my medications that I take, both the generic name, most of which I take, and the brand name, because if the pharmacy overseas needs to look it up, they typically need the brand name and not the generic name. And I have a list of my medical conditions, so that if something were to happen to me and I needed medical care, the doctors taking care of me would know. I took a copy of my travel insurance, and again, I have all this stuff digitally scanned into my phone, and a copy of my passport. So I never once needed to open any of this stuff, which is a good thing, but I thought it was important to have it with me. And maybe I'll just save it for the next trip. And then lastly, I have kind of a log sheet that I track my medications on. I write down everything. I take a lot of medications, so if I don't write it down, I forget. That's downstairs. But I also made a copy of my prescription sheets from Walgreens, the drugstore where I get my medications, because if I would have needed to fill any of these prescriptions while I was over there, they always say take your medications in the original bottle with the, the doctor, prescriber name, and all that stuff on it. But quite honestly, I take too many medications for that, and a lot of times the drugstore will put them in a bottle that's like 10 times as it needs to be, so I don't take them in the original bottle. And for that reason, I take a list of the actual thing from the drugstore. And then in the thing we got some of that other stuff from, which was a handy dandy little thing. I picked this up in the Vigo shop. Really, really helpful about the Camino, and I read it, and I decided to keep this one in particular. I took this little book about the Camino Portuguese. I thought about just tearing out the pages that we needed, and then it's such a light little book, I just decided to take it. And it's just a receipt. And then I'm going to frame I can throw that away. That's from the people who transferred their suitcases. I'm very proud to show you this. This is my Camino credencial. So you have to get, during the last 100 kilometers, you fill in your personal information, and then you have to get at least 2 stamps every day that you walk. But you can get more, so I obviously liked getting stamps, so I got lots and lots of stamps. And I'm going to have my Compostela framed, and I also got the one for distance, so I don't know what I'm going to do with this for sure. I might have it framed, I don't want to cut it apart, so it would be like this long, kind of weird looking thing. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. But anyway, it's very dear to me, and that also stayed with me every place I went. Just like my passport. It's called a passport, actually, by some people. So those were the papers I took with me, and other than the credential that I had stamped, I did refer back to some of these things, but I didn't need to use most of it. But I thought it was important to have it with me, both hard copy and digitally. And like I said, it added about, I might have said, it added about 1.5 pounds to my backpack, but I took it anyway. So that's it. If I do any more videos, they'll be about just very specific things like what to do when you get to Santiago and how you go and get your Compostela and things like that, things that I learned along the way. But for the most part, I just really wanted to talk about what I took with me on the trip, and what I took with me, what I was really glad I had, and what I didn't use at all. And if I do the Camino again, number one, I'll take a different route. And number two, I will not take so much stuff. So anyway, like I said earlier in my earlier videos, if you decide to go, buen camino.